We're talking about the middle and late 19th century, and the movement we're talking about in particular is Impressionism, which was really a revolution in the art world against the very staid academic world that was being sponsored by the French state. As you know, the state runs the art school, the École des Beaux-Arts, and the professors of that art school were the jury members who said yes or no to paintings that were being shown in the salon. And the Impressionists had a hard time getting their paintings accepted by this jury because in the eyes of the professors there, these very loosely brushed paintings were nothing more than sketches. Well, it's characterized by a much looser brushwork. Characteristically also, these pictures, especially the landscapes, were painted out of doors, en plein air, as the French call it, which makes a huge difference in the impact of sunlight on the pictures. And on top of that, beyond technique, it was really a choice of subject matter. And there it was more the interest in the contemporary world, rather than paint religious allegories or scenes from Greek and Roman mythology. It is what is happening now in Paris streets, in the countryside, that really was elevated to a level that had earlier only been considered important enough for historical subjects. Well, Renoir actually started out as a decorator of porcelain. And there is a sort of porcelain quality about his works, I think, very consistently. He's also, beyond all the others, the premier portraitist of the Impressionists. And we have here a beautiful picture by him called A Box in the Theater or at the Concert, and it represents two beautiful young women in a very luxurious box at a theater, probably the Paris Opera, the Opera Garnier, which had just been completed around this time. This picture is from 1880, and it actually started out as a portrait of two young women, and there was actually a male figure as well. But according to the dealer, the man who commissioned this portrait didn't like it. So Renoir took it back, he painted out the man, and instead of making it a particular portrait of particular ladies, this is now more of a genre scene. They are exquisitely painted with this very delicate touch, and Renoir has a particular love of the female form, and these beautiful, charming Parisian faces simply radiate in this canvas. It is the cliffs at Étretat. It is from a series of paintings that Monet painted around 1885. He knew this area very well. He grew up quite near it in Le Havre. As you know, Monet was born in Paris, but then moved to Le Havre with his parents when he was just a little child. And so he knew this coastline of Normandy very, very well. He actually lived along the Seine all of his life, but he would return to the Norman coast often to paint these scenes. And I must say, I've been to these cliffs. They are most impressive, just gigantic. And of course, what Monet captures so beautifully is the sunlight as it falls over the cliffs, as it makes the cliffs reflect in the, here I guess it is water at low tide, with these golden tones set off by these light greens and light blues of the sky. Absolutely riveting. This is one of the motifs he painted over and over and over again in various weathers and atmospheres and lights, where he really develops this very intense way of looking at a particular motif. It's something that was very, very important to him, and he actually starts it in about 1869, so many, many years before this, when he looks very closely at the Seine, at the bathing spot at La Grenouillère. And you can see there for the first time, and you see it here explored more and more, this very conscientious way of breaking up the waves and reflections in the water into these tiny brushstrokes where layer upon layer of different colors build up this illusion of moving water and reflected light. And it's something that, you know, he will explore from 69 on all of his life. As a matter of fact, he said if he had finished a particular other painting of large figures that was supposed to be a luncheon in the Forest of Fontainebleau, if that picture had been successful and accepted, his career might have gone an entirely different route. But at that moment, the big painting was not accepted. He never finished it, in fact, but he fell in love with water and reflection. And late in his life, he said, you know, and it took me in an entirely different way and toward experiments that I myself had never dreamed of. It was Sterling Clark's favorite painting by Renoir that he owned, and he owned 39 of them, so he was very well versed with Renoir. He considered Renoir one of the great painters on a level of Titian and Raphael, the great Renaissance masters. These onions are very normal, very everyday kind of subject. They don't even seem to be particularly arranged. They're sort of dropped on a table with a cloth under them. There's a couple of garlic, what do you call them?
Heads of garlic.
Heads of garlic between them. And the background is a very lively, perhaps greenish blue wallpaper. They are extremely sensually painted, and Renoir was certainly a painter who relished the female form, and I think these rounded forms of sometimes apples, or as here, the onions certainly evoke that feeling of something very, very sensuous. It's a very energized looking still life, although that's almost a contradiction in terms. And if you think of a still life by, for instance, by Cézanne, where everything is so measured out and so contemplated, here they seem to be almost moving. It's there, and it is of course because of this very energized brushwork that seems to be going in the shapes of the onions. They seem to be fluttering with their appendages, and just really is an impressionist still life as moving as you can possibly imagine it.